so as to give a presentation of a label. And in front of you, on your seats, you've all got a booklet, and it explains what the Living with Rivers label is about. And we'll be presenting it, as well as welcome the prize winners. The prize winners who will each come and present their projects. And it's a great source of pride for us. And so I'm going to hand the floor to the president of the association, who's Eric Orsena, who you heard during the roundtable discussion, and who will give some words of introduction. All of this to say that we're being broadcast live over the internet, and there is a translation. So I'd like to just welcome everybody who's following in remotely. We are an international NGO, so we have a lot of international members and a host of people who are located abroad. So thank you for connecting with us this evening. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand over the floor to Eric for his words of welcome and introduction. And it's just going to be very short, because I'm somebody who can actually speak for hours and hours on end, as you know. This isn't something that leaves me indifferent. And so much as to say, when I'm asked, in summary, what drives me and what makes me happy is a boat, and there's a boat that's called the pourquoi pas, the why not. And what strikes me is that there are many people at all different levels have understood that we have a lot at stake, but we don't know what they're doing, what they do. And within the IAGF, and we created this NGO 10 years ago, within the IAGF, for us, it seems very clear as to how important this all is. We know that there are alerts. We know what the dangers are. We know that the tensions are rising, etc. Okay, that's all and well. We don't overlook that. But what do we do about it? What can we do about it? And so that's right. That's why right from the beginning with Elizabeth, we introduced the word initiative, because what are the others doing? And so we also draw inspiration from what others are doing at all different levels. We seek to see how we can use what others are doing as an example, getting to know them better, and then saying, okay, well, why not? Why not us? Let's try this now. And so this initiative is centered on a boat called the Pourquoi Pas, the why not. And what it is it's a collection of why nots. It's a type of a flotilla of all that's possible. And with its crew are the men and the women located all over the planet at all different scales, small, medium, and large, that have said, this is what we've done. This is what works. So why not? Why not us? So welcome. Welcome to this adventure of the possible. And it was necessary. And now we need to take action. If we don't take action, you're going to see there's some nasty forces, climatic forces amongst others, and other people who will get on board with bad intentions that are going to make our life a lot more difficult. So have a look at what we've done. It's a world trip of the imagination, and it's wonderful. It's technical, but it's also cultural, and it's everything that we love. And this is the very reason why Elizabeth and myself 10 years ago decided to create this association, this NGO, which is now international. And just one last point. What's fascinating when it comes to water and the search for a solution is an interdisciplinary approach. We have the involvement of engineers, doctors. We have the involvement of lots of different profiles of people. We still don't have musicians, but we've got writers, and we've got theological historians, because that's what water is about. So why not? And once again, water can be a lesson for the rest of us. And if all is well with the water, then all will be well with society. Thank you very much. And thank you, Eric. And so before we explain the Living with Rivers label, just a couple of words, which I hope won't be a repetition of what you said, Eric, but just to give you, to tell you what we're about. And when you hear IAG, Initiative for the Future of the Major Rivers, Initiative pour l'avenir des grands fleuves, that's us. And like Eric was saying, the association, the NGO was created 10 years ago, almost to the day, by the National Company of the Rhone that manages the Rhone River. Our head offices are in Lyon. And it was created by Eric. And the underlying idea was to ask ourselves, how can we provide for a common and shared sustainable future for rivers, for territories, and for ecosystems? Taking into account the different types of usages and having an approach to them that is sustainable. And we have values that we're very proud of, a commitment, dialogue, and optimism. I think that you heard this during the past roundtable discussion. What's important to us is to get people on board and to get them committed and involved. We need that sense of wonderment. We need to show them examples of solutions that work. And that's why we'd like to thank all our project sponsors that have followed us in the Living with Rivers project. So we've got 3 drivers. We'd like to produce and share scientific knowledge with the entire network of different stakeholders and players that Eric spoke about. We also like to advocate for awareness raising. We attend international conferences, local conferences, regional conferences, and national conferences, and we want to share and share the knowledge that we've acquired of rivers and their solutions. And the third thing is to develop solutions in different territories, saying that what happens in the Congo can be a source of inspiration for Colombia and Bulgaria and throughout the world. And so we've got a lot of projects that benefit from our label. Our approach is a multidisciplinary one with the River Committee that Eric told you about, and lots of people that have been following us for the last decades, and they constitute the wealth of our NGO. And I'd like to thank them. I know that several of them are looking in, albeit remote. I'm not going to take much longer, but we have an extensive network of partners internationally, and we depend on them to put together our projects and have our influence be heard. And so I'm going to pass the floor to Clémenceau Bert, who is our Secretary General, and who will tell you more specifically about the Living with Rivers label. So thank you, Sophie. Good day, everybody. And what is the Living with Rivers label? Like we said, and like Eric said, the ambition for our NGO is to go from a phase where we serve as whistleblowers and we have advocacy relative to our rivers to a more optimistic viewpoint that is future-oriented, looking at what happens within the different territories and promoting those actions that are undertaken by field actors to the benefit of the rivers. And that is how the idea of this label came about. We wanted to shed light and highlight that which is being done in the territories, all that has a positive impact on rivers and the way that people live around those rivers. And it entails the engagement of stakeholders with the objective of strengthening sustainable development practices and just life in general in and around the rivers. And with the label, this is the second year that we are awarding official prizes. It's something that we've also got a call for submissions for next year. So what are the benefits for those who benefit from this label? It makes them a part of a community of actors who are active locally in the territories and that carry out projects to the benefit of the rivers. And so it's about establishing a network as well as participating in events enabling us to share via webinars and workshops, most of which taken place remotely because we're present throughout the world. It's also about promoting certain projects and provides a possibility to get opinions from experts, to be able to talk and exchange with other members of our association, and notably with the jury. I'll come back to that in a moment. It's about promoting and being recognized when looking for financing. It's a type of a scientific guarantee whereby you have a panel of river aspects stand as guarantors when seeking out funding. And for the three prize winners, who they will also be getting 15,000 as an allowance in order to further support their project. They'll be given a grant. And very quickly, who is the jury? The jury is comprised of members of our NGO, so 13 in total, presided by our chairman, which is Eric Orsena. People that come from all different disciplines and covering the 5 continents. And thanks to the members of our jury, thank you for the wonderful work in analyzing the different applications. And thank you to the teams who looked at all the details of the submissions. Thanks to all who participated in the discussions. And it was really wonderful to see what's happening throughout the world in all the different territories. And it's a big source of hope for us too. Because even if all the projects were different, there were no two alike. They had different approaches to each of their topics because their locations were all different. They all spoke about harmonious living, the way man can live in harmony with the river, and this is something that will be extremely positive for our future. So thank you. I won't take up more of your time because now we will be having a presentation of those projects that this year will be receiving the Living with Rivers label. And so I would now like to pass the floor to Marine. Well, actually, it's me, Sophie. 2 seconds before I hand the floor to Marine, because I forgot to tell you something in terms of action, which you might find interesting beyond the awarding of a label. We have one international session organized every year where we bring in our experts in a given territory. So we've just come back from Brazil, and we had a delegation of experts for a field visit, visiting the local populations, working with them on solutions, helping them to find solutions to coexist with the river in the face of climate change. We attended a COP30. So this is a call to you. If you would like to organize anything in your territory, we'll be very happy to bring in our experts and have an international session. Next year, we're going to the Mekong River, but our diary is wide open for 2027, 2028. And this is something which the local actors might be interested in. We've developed tools for raising awareness. There is a river fresco whereby you can have collaborative workshops for small groups. It could either be open to the greater public or local communities or companies. And we've just launched a new program called Adopt Your River. And this is something we have twinning programs for schools, and it's an educational program for children. So it's something that exists for the time being in French, but we also have twinning programs with international classes. And we also have other tools for local government and local communities, providing support when it comes to striving for zero plastics. I'd like to conclude with that. And now I'm going to hand over the floor to Marine. So thank you for bearing with me in this little aside. So good evening, everybody, and those present and with us online. And it is my pleasure to present those projects for 2024-2025 that received the Living with with Rivers label. And with this map, which enables you to locate where our labeled projects have been located over the last 2 years, there are 78, so 55% that are located internationally, located abroad, covering all the different continents except for Australia and Oceania. And if you're interested in the details of these initiatives, you can find them in detail on our website. And there's also a booklet that's been handed out for those present at the meeting. So having a look at the call for projects in 2025, a couple of figures. On the whole, we received 63 applications this year. 52 of these projects were certified. 18 were in France and 34 were located abroad. And so a really good representation of all the different continents, reflecting a good level of diversity and the cross-nature approach when it comes to the way we broach all our topics. And I'd like to focus on a few of these projects. Unfortunately, I don't have time to tell you about all of them, but there are a certain number, and the projects, well, a lot of them were linked to environmental restoration and preservation. So there was the initiative by Le Partenariat in Senegal, aiming for a sustainable management of the delta ecosystems with actions aimed at restoring the mangrove. There's also the Back to Roots project, which aims to protect the environment, acting to the benefit of rivers, and with the planting of local species of trees and the reintroduction of certain mammals, as well as certain aquatic water species. This project is linked to current issues and problems brought about due to climate change, which has led to a deterioration of biodiversity with negative fallout for the rivers. There's also the Expédition Renversante, which is in Madagascar, by the Bleu Versant NGO, which aims at promoting territorial dialogue. The aim is to adopt a territorial project by including all the stakeholders and involving them all in the discussions. And still with an aim to restoring things and reforestation, there were various other initiatives, and namely the one conducted by Community Social Center HBL. This is the future, which is an initiative aiming at replanting bamboo in order to bring plant life back to the banks of the river. The deforestation is a significant issue, which has had a negative effect on the way the banks are maintained, with the way settlement is left to deposit. As there was also another agroforestry project linked to cocoa trees, providing socio-economic support to the local populations for their development. And in another register, there's also a project by Visit to Burundi, the Visit to Burundi project, who focused on developing local tourism to provide support to the local population, helping them to deal with various risks, such as the risks of flooding or conflict with surrounding fauna, and namely the hippopotamus. In the same vein, dealing with another issue, which is action to counter plastic pollution and waste as a whole, there were various initiatives, such as the one by Kumba in Mali, whereby days were cleanup days were held for the youth so that they could go and clean up the banks of the river. These are programs that were intended for the youth as well as citizens in general. And there was the Jeunes pour un Monde Avenir organization, who works with the youth in order to clean up various waterways.
We have the organization called Afro Organization, and they have a two-phase project. So first of all, focusing on training and data collection. And so now they're moving into phase two. They're conducting analysis on water quality and also providing training in order to deploy solutions for water purification, thanks to the Moringa plant. So here we have river transportation as the main theme. So Jiri Services has an initiative that is focused on improving river transportation and making river transportation more environmentally friendly. This is done by placing electric engines on the boats, which are powered by by solar panels. They've conducted initial tests in Mali and in Senegal, and the goal is to deploy this, to scale this solution up and to deploy it more broadly. We also have a project from RAV ASBL. This is a project that focuses on assistance with transportation for students living along the Congo River. There are various issues related to river transportation for students. These students were at risk of drowning in the river. So this is a way of providing safe transportation with a pirogue and a boat. And next project, and here we're focusing more on flood mitigation. We have something called a project called Memory of the Mono River, which is managed by the Benin Ecotourism Concern. So here they want to look at different solutions for protecting the river. What are the best practices? And in fact, that is the focus of the label, Living with Rivers. It's really to implement the best solutions. So here we have other issues. So we have Agua Segura in Mexico, and this is focusing on preserving water resources. And here we work with they look with local communities. And so here they want to focus on how to prevent forest fires and how to protect the water resources to ensure that water is still drinking water for local communities. There's an integrated approach that is offered by Friendship. They seek to have an inclusive approach for communities in Bangladesh. They want to ensure that people are safe with flooding and that they can still have access to drinking water. I might also mention an initiative from the University of Water and Electricity of North China. Here they have a program to strengthen women's capabilities in terms of managing waterways for the protection of the Yellow River in China. Here various training modules are offered to the women so that they can be the guardians, the protectors of the Yellow River, and so they can implement various measures to focus on monitoring water quality. Next type of initiatives, we're going to focus on monitoring and data collection. Some examples of projects include the Syndicate for the Protection of the Beuvron River. The project focuses on water level monitoring and to prevent flooding. Then we have the WILD project from Vortexio, and here again the focus is on preventing flooding through the acquisition, through data acquisition. Vortexio has set up various stations in order to be able to collect much more specific measures in the Garonne Basin and in Croatia. So this is a cross-border project. So it's a project that's carried by several countries. Then we have the Stop Knotweed project, which is implemented by the Association for the Preservation of Lake Geneva. So here, specific methodologies are suggested in order to try to eradicate knotweed. And then finally, there's a Garonne River project, and here the project focuses on supporting the conservation of the Garonne River, focusing on the sedimentary dynamics, which are constantly evolving. So now let's talk about some more artistic projects. These are festivals, these are films. For example, we have the 270-degree film, which is offered up by Terre au Vent in the Rhine Basin. There's also a festival called Fluctuations, which is being set up by an organization called SMILE. This is a European festival that takes place on several rivers, on the Danube, the Rhine, and the Seine. So it's a mobile festival that navigates along these different rivers. We also have another similar project called Bateau Labo, the Call of the Rivers. And here, the Bateau Labo is going to navigate along European rivers. Next, let's move to Quebec. We have the Saint Laurent expedition. This is an expedition that takes place along the Saint Laurent River in Canada, and the goal here is to combat plastic pollution. Still talking about artistic, but also pedagogical project. So, for example, we have Novelette that has a project called Down the Loire River to the Mekong River. So here there are musical shows that aim at creating a dialogue between the Loire River and the Mekong River. There's another initiative put forward by G3E called I Adopt a Waterway. And here we have students who learn about a waterway that they have adopted. Same idea for the organization SOS Living Loire, which has a project called Rivers of Images and Rivers of Words. So this is every year they launch a call for artistic projects during which they publish poems. And they also help schools work on projects year-round, focusing on the Loire River. Last but not least, and here I'm wrapping up on the presentation of the projects, we do have a lot of projects that focus on citizen participation, citizen engagement, on the organization of pedagogical and awareness-raising workshops. For example, the pluridisciplinary project on the Sécanian gardens. Then there's Cap sur le Rhône, listening to the Rhône and the Saône River. So this is a podcast that will be prepared with students and the public at large. So then you have another structure that's called the House of the Loire River in Anjou. So this is a pedagogical itinerary that focuses on exhibits on the Loire River. And this is being developed via other artistic proposals. And then we have the Syndicat Eaux et Rivières de Bretagne, Waters and Rivers of Brittany. Here the project focuses on the participation of local residents along small waterways in Brittany. So that wraps it up for the projects that were received this year in 2025. And if you would like to find out more about it, please go to our website, or you can also look at the booklet. And of course, we are on hand to answer any questions you might have regarding this multitude of wonderful projects. Thank you so much, Marine. So you have a presentation of the 2025 projects, but you can also view the 2024 projects on our website. And the goal here is to really create opportunities for networking. Without further ado, let's move on to the celebration. And here we're going to have Gilles Moulizer, who's going to come up here. And he's a member of our jury, of the jury panel. Gilles, the floor is yours. Thank you, Sophie. Good evening, everybody. Dear audience, thank you for being here with us for this moment that is going to remove all suspense. Dear Elizabeth, dear Eric, dear members of the jury who are attending remotely, but who, of course, worked relentlessly to select the winners. So I'm very honored to be up here to be able to announce the three winners. And it was hard to just pick three projects, so we do have a fourth one. And here I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all the members of the Secretariat, in particular Sophie, Marine, Clémence, and Jessica. Thank you so much for the excellent work that you did by doing a pre-selection. All of those projects were read in great detail. So thank you to the members of the jury for this pre-selection work that helped us select the final winners. So we will call upon each winner to come up here and they will present their projects. The first project that we selected and that we wish to honor is a project that focuses on the rivers of Sofia. So this takes place in Bulgaria. And the association that is being honored here today is the Collective Foundation. And the person who is going to represent them today and who is also the initiator of the project is Martin Yankov. And we were very impressed by the multiplier effect of this project. So congratulations, Martin, for this work. And so he's going to be presenting the project, and then we will award him the prize afterwards. So Martin, congratulations, and the floor is yours to present the project.
Thank you so much. How do I switch this? Thank you so much for this great opportunity. Thank you for the great initiative to Mr. Orsena and his team. What you're doing is truly great. I'm so happy there are more enthusiasts across Europe working so hard to recognizing the value and importance of rivers. I'll be very short, or at least I'll try to fit 6 years of our work into this 5-minute presentation. My name is Martin Yankov. I'm a landscape urbanist, founder of the Collective Foundation based in Bulgaria. And me as landscape urbanist, I quickly realized the role of rivers in urban environment as the most valuable urban asset. There is nothing better than good urban river. No high street, no market space, no public square. The urban river has all the qualities that we could possibly dream of. This is where civilization started from. Urban rivers could provide place for people to socialize, to meet with nature, to find peace. They could be a place for play for children. They could be a place for biodiversity, for fresh air, for so many things stacked on top of each other that it's really difficult to ignore them. Yet in many cities, especially in Sofia, in the capital of Bulgaria, my hometown city, urban rivers are extremely neglected. Even though we don't have one big river like Seine or Thames in London or the rivers in Berlin, in Rome, our capital has 33 rivers. It has very dense network of rivers, but unfortunately, most of them look like this. They are little streams, extremely polluted by mixed sewage and very bad managed sewage system through the last decades. Now it's getting better. And me as a person, I couldn't change everything, even if I wished to, but more people, 2 people, 3 people, or even more, could make a change. This is how the Collective Foundation was found, with the idea that bringing together strategic partners, we could make the biggest change we could ever dream of. So this is how we started with 2020. We did the first festival, Rivers of Sofia, which idea was that with little budget, we bring so many stakeholders on the table and we bring the general public around the topic of the future of Rivers of Sofia. So with the first festival, we managed to attract 30 partners and make the rivers really popular, give them voice. Then year after year, we started gathering around us experts that knew about the problems and solutions about urban rivers, because at the beginning we were acting a little bit childish with the dream of changing the rivers, but we really didn't know what we need to do. So year after year, we started facing the real issues and the real solutions and ordering them in the steps that are achievable. And we started engaging more people up to the point where Rivers of Sofia became one of the most popular events in our country. This year we attracted 82,000 people. We started transforming different spaces to show their potential. And of course, this positive public pressure, I would call it, got the attention of the institutions, or in other words, institutions couldn't avoid the rivers of Sofia anymore. So we had the mayor signing series of strategic documents. We increased the quality of our rivers by introducing new maintenance structure for the sewage system. We started working in other cities after what happened in Sofia and the noise that the initiative brought to the city. We went to Russe, where again the same problem. The city is very disconnected from the Danube River, where it is based. Again, the same methodology through art, landscape, architecture, paysagism in French. We managed to get the long-term attention of institutions. Then we switched to other cities. We went to, I think I went slightly faster, but we went to the city of Veliko Trnovo, we went to the city of Gabrovo, the city of Stara Zagora, and now there are more and more municipalities across Bulgaria that realize the potential of urban rivers to transform their cities and communities and culture. And one beautiful picture as end of this presentation. Thank you very much again for this great honor. And if you wish to follow our foundation, you're always welcome to. Thank you.
Voilà, voulez-vous dire juste un petit mot
I just wanted to say something about it's about a lady. There's a lady who has been our source of inspiration, and this is a great lady. She's a philosopher, Sylvie Vartan. And I don't think you were born, most of you, when Sylvie Vartan wrote, but she has a song that makes me cry every time I hear it. So I'm not going to sing it myself because I don't want to hurt your ears, but please listen to this beautiful song. La Marija, c'est ma rivière. It's my river, like the Seine is yours. But only my father remembers that. During my first 10 years, nothing is left. I don't have a doll, but all I have is a song. All the birds in my river sang about freedom, and I didn't understand it at the time, but my father did. Listen to the Marija. The Marija is a Bulgarian river because Sylvie Vartan is originally Bulgarian. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. So here we award the prize. We are officially awarding the prize. The Living Rivers with Rivers label is being officially awarded. Thank you so much. So now the second awardee is going to be about the protection of the sources, the springs of a watershed in Colombia. And this is a project that is put forth by an organization called Chen Du Kua, and we're very pleased to welcome Lise Fabreau and Pauline Fabreau. You have the floor.
Bonsoir. So good evening, everybody. And thank you to all those who have enabled us to have this experience. Thank you, Sophia Gardet, Clémence Aubert, Eric Orsena, Marine Escoffier. And big thank you to all the members of the jury and experts here with us and watching remotely. For the last 28 years with Jean Decroix, we've been working with 3 indigenous groups in Colombia, located in the Sierra de Naval de Santa Marta. People for whom the water and the earth and the living memory are not just concepts, but an extension of their own bodies, a responsibility, commitments that guides them in their everyday behavior. And it's their voices who we would like to be heard here this evening.
Vous venez d'entendre El Canto del
And
Mar.
so you've just had El Canto al Mar, which is the Song of the Sea, interpreted by Maria Mujica, who is a Wiwa lady from the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. These are the indigenous people that we work with. Martin Aril is a Wiwa professor from the territory we worked, translated the words of a Mamo. The Mamo are the traditional and spiritual authorities of the community. They speak about the importance of singing with water, and they state the words in Damana, which is the ancestral language, and they say it's the Langwa, which is part of nature, who's the father of nature, who entrusts us with the task of looking after the water. The most important task. Without water, there's no life. And so we will sing that water and we will defend that water. And so we'll be receiving this prize with immense gratitude, but a sense of responsibility. We're going to continue to make space for these voices, for the knowledge that they hold, and to amplify the combat, which is actually ours in reality, and is the combat of all living beings. And this prize honors a river, a territory, and a people, the Wiwa, and the Badio River in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia. It's an exceptional piece of land which is extremely fragile. And the Badilla River is just a small river which originates at 1,400 meters in altitude in the Sierra Nevada, which is one of the richest in biodiversity in the world, and it provides water to thousands of people. And along its trajectory, it crosses through dozens of Wiwa communities, one of which is the Tuza Make, who is suffering from the effects of climate change, droughts, and a lack of drinking water, to the extent that the community had to call in the Colombian justice system to ask that the right of access to water be respected. And so with the Chendukwa, we put together this project in this context, along with the Wiwa communities who live along the watershed, and the project is based on 4 pillars. The first pillar is enhancing cultural knowledge so that the Wiwa communities can preserve water according to their traditional practices and their traditional knowledge. It's about educating and transmitting this knowledge to the younger generations and amongst the women. Traditionally speaking, according to the Wiwa culture, it's the women who are the guardians of that water. It's also about protecting water sources and forests. The sources that are now benefiting from protection thanks to these projects no longer dry out, and the children are no longer as sick as they were because they are drinking better quality of drinking water. And it's also about sustainable practices for livestock management. And all those who implement this are our colleagues in Colombia, who you were able to see in the videos. Those who are working on site alongside the communities with the youth and alongside the women. And what we can see within the framework of this government is that water governance and indigenous knowledge are the main drivers. They're essential if we are going to meet the challenges of what we require to preserve our water for today and tomorrow. And so the Babilo River that you saw in these images is small, but it reminds us that every river counts, and that the biggest transformations can come about as a result of the small sources. So on behalf of the Chandakwa, on behalf of the indigenous people of Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, we'd like to thank you for all those living along the Badilo River and all the riverside committees that it protects. We thank you. And so just to let you know that the IAGF is very sensitive to protecting water towers. I'm not speaking just for Switzerland, but I'm talking about a small water tower at Fouta Jalon, which is an absolute treasure that we have to preserve. Which brings us to the third prize winner that you can see up on the board. And we are now going to the Congo, and the association that is being honored here this evening is the Patamaya Association, and the person that will be representing the association is Magellan Labello Chevalier. So, dear Magellan, thank you. And on behalf of the IAGF, it's a pleasure for us to have a project that presents solutions when it comes to energy provision for impoverished rural communities. And so we'd like to thank you in advance for that.
Il faut que je vois en même temps. Ah, je vois ici. Merci. Bonsoir à toutes et à tous.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for having invited Putamai 242, and it's a great honor for me to represent Congo this evening. And unlike appearances, and I took a lot of the time getting here. My pirogue, my boat broke down. But I'd like to, in the next couple of minutes, explain and tell you what Patamai 242 does. I am a co-founder of Patamai. So Patamai, who are we?
Oui, parce que sinon, ça va durer trop longtemps.
Patamai comes from the Greek word, and it means it's the plural feminine of the word river. And our aim is to make use of the energy provided by waterways, transforming it into usable energy for women living on solid land, and in this case in the Congo. So we installed river turbines on the river, which produces energy and electricity 24 hours a day, giving the local population access to drinking water. Thanks to a borehole, as well as a means to filter the water. And so we're in the Mamu Island between Brazzaville and Kinshasa. And so the water is then purified, filtered, and distributed to the villages. And so the aim is to take water directly from the river. So here we have a colleague who, on the banks of the river, is drinking straight from the river. But we prefer purified water, and this is something we've been doing since 2021. The underlying concept is to provide essential services to the local populations. Electrical energy or electricity enables several activities to be carried out. And so here we have a training center. Amongst our essential services, we've got drinking water, training in hairdressing, in sewing and various crafts, which enables the women of the village to find employment locally. We also host children so that the moms can go to work. Either they can undergo training or they can work in the agri-foods processing workshops. So here you can see jams that are being cooked with 100% renewable energy coming from our turbines and solar panels. So it provides for additional revenues for the women of the village, and also to avoid any of the crops from being wasted or going off. Because you have one freezer for 15,000 inhabitants, it means a lot of the foodstuffs go off. Having electricity enables the farmers also, it supports the farmers, but it enables them to make bread as well. It's electricity is complicated. The oven uses 4 kilowatts of electricity, so you need for it to be provided, but it can cook the morning bread. Another activity is that we host children, and we show them cartoons and with images which are locally made. And this is a prototype project. It's a pilot project that we've had on the Mumbai Island, but we have other sites that are being built in the south. Here we have a material from Kipambu, which is 600 kilometers from Brazzaville. It's been a big challenge. We've been working with our colleagues in order to provide them with the equipment that is mainly comes from Congo. And here, this is a turbine that was built in Congo, thanks to a plan by David Atterian. And it's easy to build, but it's very difficult to unload. Here we had a crane to load it onto the truck, but it was very difficult to get it off. So congratulations to the entire team with their winch. And here we've got all the youth from the village who are pushing it to launch it on the water. It was built on the water in September, and so we're just waiting to connect it to this building, which is a essential services center, and it should be hooked up by December. So here we have the turbine, which is up and running. I'd like to come back to this technology. It's very simple. It's like a big dynamo that you have on a bicycle, except it's on the river, and it enables us to provide non-intermittent energy. When you're on a river, you've got the current that's running day and night, and we worked with this river turbine because we can lift the turbine, and this is what the team is busy doing with the winches. They are lifting the masts, and so you'll see the turbines very soon. It's like a turbine, but the opposite way around with the head in the water, and so now we've also got the means to carry out all maintenance operations without sending in a diver into this water with its strong currents. We can lift it out of the water to maintain it. And thanks to this energy, we can also recharge this motor, which is an electric motor, so we can deliver drinking water, bread, and everything that we've said, taking people to their training courses because they come from different villages surrounding the site without using any fuel. So you just hook it up. It's very practical. It's just 3 wires that you connect, and then we're able to recharge it at nighttime, and we can use it during the day thanks to our river turbines. And here, this is the third site, which is at Kimbedi. And here, our installations, which we call USC, which are essential services centers, are made out of compressed soil. So we make use of local materials, and this enables production to take place on site with people hired locally. We want people to be autonomous in their energy supply and their food supply, because having their own source of energy means they could also preserve everything that they cultivate on the farms and that they grow on the farms. And so this is the construction that we have at Kimbedi. This is our third site, and this will be commissioned during the course of 2026 if everything runs according to plan.
Oui, effectivement, pour la maintenance,
And when it comes to maintenance, this is where the challenge was. And we wanted to train maintenance teams locally. So the first river turbine has been up and running since 2021. We've gone through every single breakdown imaginable. And the good news is that we've always managed to repair it locally. And sometimes with some technical support via WhatsApp, but always with maintenance carried out by the local team. And this is something that's set to last for the next 20, if not the next 40 years to come.
Juste la directrice me
And
souffle.
she just whispered to me, it's the same principle that Eric reminded us, is that just trust us. We will disseminate your solutions, because others have tried to do what you did with their turbines and they didn't succeed. And so here the question is, why not? We can try what they did. And I think that the engineers will be there. They'll be investing the energy required to succeed. And the jury wasn't quite satisfied in only giving 3 prizes this year and only having 3 prize winners. And so we created a separate category to boost the next prize winner. And I'd like to congratulate an association which is called GRDR. And this is a project that took place between Senegal and Mali, if I understood this correctly, so on the border between the two countries. And the idea is to strengthen resilience of the local communities along the Falémé River. And the representatives who representing the association are Jean-Marc Pradel and Baoudan Diaye, but I don't think she's with us this evening, and she sent her apologies. So congratulations to you. So you are Dao Langay, so my apologies. Dear Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, thank you. This is a great honor for us at the GRDR to be receiving this prize from the Living with Rivers network. And it also comes with a great amount of responsibility. If I am here before you today, it's to speak about a territory which doesn't look like what you have on a postcard. It's a territory that you need to love. It's a tributary from the Senegal River that marks the border between Senegal, Mali, and it is not just a peaceful river. And the water is polluted and clouded by mercury, where young people dig holes deeper than the depth of their hopes, where the trees and the soil is overexploited, where conflict is born quicker than solutions can be found. The initiative, which is called Kisal Diwan, is a territory which lies alongst the banks of the Senegal River and has suffered destruction. It came about because the GRDR and its partners and the EU and the AFT, OVS and the local communities could no longer turn a blind eye. The inhabitants say that the river is dying, that the resources are running out, and as such, tensions are rising. And in addition to any governance in the area and efforts to prevent conflicts or to restore damaged ecosystems and attempts to improve access to water, as provided for by the Kisal Diwan initiative, this is what we strive for. And with this boost, we are going to try and have the voices of the youth heard, those who are growing in and amongst the tension and that are seeing the river changing quicker than they are growing and becoming adults. So the situation is urgent. Their words sometimes brutal but necessary. So thank you to the Living with Rivers Network. Thank you for recognizing a territory who is fighting for its survival. Thank you for giving a voice to those who are front line and are the first to be affected. Thank you once again. And thank you, Daouda. He's a real poet, and he says things in a well-formulated manner. And when you say you have to love it, it lies between the border between Senegal and Mali. And as you know, unfortunately, in this region, things are going very badly on the Mali end of things. And so it's about promoting peace as well. And that's also one of the reasons for our presence over there. Thank you very much.
Oui, merci. Eh bien, merci à nos trois lauréats.
Thank you, and thank you to our 4 prize winners. Thank you for coming to receive your prizes, and thank you for your projects. And I think that you heard a presentation of the scientific committee and all the work that went into selecting the prize winners. But just before I hand over the floor for the conclusion, just a couple of words to tell you that the trophy was made by Yves Perraudot from Art Creation, and it's made from woods that come from the banks of the river and stones in the river. So thank you very much for this wonderful design. And now I hand over the floor for this evening's conclusion.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we have traveled far and afield. We've also heard some beautiful expressions. And so I work for the Interministerial Committee for the Development of the Seine. That's a lot more local. But I must say that everything I've heard today is something that is applicable to the Seine River Valley. I'm not going to be lengthy. I have worked often in urban planning. I started off as an engineer, for example. And at the time, frankly, I wasn't very respectful of nature, of water, because it felt like it was inexhaustible. But you know what? Reality hit me hard, especially in Île-de-France, because I worked on the Seine navigation and various areas. And so we had some very severe floods, which led to severe pollution. And so afterwards I continued working on major projects, major urban development projects. But of course I had to look to the future in order to contend with climate change, which was the biggest upheaval. And so we realized that everything that makes up life is water is life, and without water we can't live. And water can lead to death, and I've seen that, for example, in the Alps. But when you look at the violence of climate change, and if you look at our model, I'm a civil servant, and we have certain models that are in place, and in fact, it's pretty difficult to change focus. Sometimes it's difficult to backtrack. And so I'm a interministerial delegate for the development of La Seine, and so 27 years later, I'm back where I started, and I'm rediscovering this territory. And if you look at it from afar, it hasn't changed. But when you take a closer look, when you walk along the territory, you can see the full effects of climate change, and we need to adapt. It's a necessity. Everything that we had promised and considered 20 or 30 years ago, well, we did it, but we took our time. We said, oh, well, we'll have time tomorrow. But now there are other upheavals that we must also contend with: geopolitical upheavals, economical upheavals. We need to reindustrialize, we need to protect ourselves, we need to rearm, we need to improve and also help our industries change. So we have to help them change and evolve, and all that. And that brings us to today's topic: how to reconcile different usages. So when you say it, it sounds all nice and fine, but what's difficult is to gather everybody around the same table. And the result, and that's part of my DNA, I'm very result-focused, outcome-focused, and that can only work if nobody is forgotten, and if we haven't forgotten any of the components of territorial development. Otherwise, you're going to be caught up very quickly by reality. And that's what I would like to conclude with. My number one concern today, after 40 years of different professional experiences, well, everything that we know today we need to implement, but we need to implement fast and with less money or no money. So there are various actions that take place and that illustrate various territories. But I think that if we want to survive, we need to all work together. And I'm listening to my Swiss colleague. I used to be the prefect of the Jura region, and we could also talk about, how water is essential for people who live along the Rhone, but it's also important for people who live near the Swiss glaciers. There's no more free water. We have to pay for water. In any event, to go back to what your organization does, Mr. Senna, Eric, we need to really focus on raising awareness, on working together, and thirdly, we need to really build a community of like-minded people who are focusing on this. Going back to the Seine, the Seine Valley has a long history. It is our heritage. It is the nature that surrounds us. It's about culture. That's what the inspiration was for Impressionists. Impressionists loved the Seine, but they also liked Le Havre, which is a port, but it's a port that's connected to Paris. And this is a territory that is really central to our country, and it even has an international dimension, and therefore we must protect it, and we need to give it a new breath of life, because currently we are confronted with very dire difficulties. So the CIPR, which is a regional body, a regional contract, has been signed, so we'll all be able to work together. And so what I hope is that by working together, we can really create a community, and that we can start to plan actions over time and to focus on priorities while respecting the uses made by each and all. So I saw some beautiful initiatives, and you mentioned the Maroni River. That was one of my first professional experiences. I spent a few weeks on the Maroni, and I was all by myself amongst the indigenous populations, and we worked together. So anyway, thank you. Wow, what an afternoon we've had, indeed. Usually, during this type of conference, we go from this to that. But this afternoon, I heard about a lot of stakeholders who had discussions and who shared with us what they do. They shared with us what they're preparing and what they wish to do together, working collaboratively. And so above and beyond all of the best wishes, what I heard were the words of committed men and women. So La Scène en Partage has been around for about 20 years. That is the name of my nonprofit. And so what we've always tried to be is not just people who have fine words, but people who take action. Taking action in a basin. And so the purpose of our organization is to look at the sources all the way to the estuary of the Seine. And here we have several dimensions that create an ecosystem. And then we need to look at the various use cases, many different use cases, many different ways of using the Seine. Sometimes we rediscover use cases. In any event, everything needs to move forward with mutual respect and in a complementary manner. And of course, we need to respect the world that we live in. Today, for the first time, perhaps, we have been able to take a step back in terms of the Seine. The name of this conference was La Seine et les Hommes, the Seine River and humankind. And so I think we went beyond that. And in fact, what we talked about were rivers and humankind. And, many men and women are very committed to their local territories. I'm a mayor of an area in which the Seine meets another body of water, the Yonne. And so the Seine goes into the Yonne and not the other way around. But in any way, it's a confluence. They meet, the waters meet, the waters of the Seine and Lyon. So here we are, nonprofits, local elected officials, all committed to our territories. And so my takeaway from today is that regardless of where we all live, work, and are involved and engaged, we are all confronted with the same issues, with the same challenges, and we are all focusing on solutions that are very similar. Of course, they are adapted to the area in which they are implemented, but they are all very similar. What I've also observed today is that among these solutions, these solutions are carried forward by men and women who are committed and engaged. So that's looping the loop. You, in fact, are the future of our rivers. And when you travel around the world, we realize how fragile some of these rivers and waterways are, and often they are fragilized by human activity. So you are far more than whistle blowers. You are enactors. You are enablers. You are people who do, people who act. And I don't have the literary talent of Mr. Orsina, but we share your thoughts on this, on how we should get involved and how we should act, and on the notion that we need to go beyond words and act. So how do we end a conference like today's? Because this is just a starting point for many of us and for the projects and the actions that we're implementing. So at the Seine and Partage, we don't have a tendency to organize too many meetings. We may meet tomorrow to get some feedback on this, and then perhaps we'll meet again next year. So that we can project into a future that we're all working on, so that we can make it more accountable and more sustainable, because these are the key challenges. We need to make sure that the youth and the can continue to live on this planet. We could just burn it all down, right? Yep, we could just burn it all down. The men and the women who live on our planet, just a few a handful of people could make us all disappear and could make nature disappear. And so our responsibility is to make sure those people don't do that. We need to reverse the trends so that the youth of today can live on a hospitable planet tomorrow. So thank you. And I believe this is just, the evening is going to continue, but thank you for your active contributions and participation during this conference. Long live the Seine River, and long live rivers world round. They are fertile, they are a source of inspiration, and they create the conditions for our future happiness. Thank you. And so now there is time for the cocktail hour. Please have a drink at the bar, but before we do that, we're going to have a family photo. So everybody, hey, you know what? Just everybody come on up stage. We're not going to limit it to just certain people. Come on up, everybody. Thank you to the region, Mr. Chéron and Castel. Thank you for your concluding remarks. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to the Compagnie Nationale du Rhône. Thank you to our sponsors who have been supporting us. Thank you, and let's have a group photo. And for those of you who are online, sorry, you won't be able to join us for the cocktail hour, but please have a drink in our honor. And we wish you an excellent evening. Thank you and goodbye.